Microsoft shocked the gaming industry on Thursday night at the Game Awards with a surprise unveiling of their next generation console. The Xbox Series X has a striking design, monster power, and has dominated the gaming conversation since its reveal. But rather than simply reacting to the reveal, I wanted to take a few days to reflect on the console and the Xbox team's apparent strategy heading into next generation. I examined the known specs and architecture, what the likely roadmap is for the Xbox team as we move into 2020, and the ongoing chess match with Sony that will continue into holiday 2020. All on this episode of Industry Perspective. Now, it's safe to say that very few saw the reveal at the Game Awards coming. Even some of those close to the Xbox teams who I speak with were surprised and blown away, myself included. Outside of the reveal, one of the most surprising aspects of the Series X is its design. Standing approximately 12.2 inches high and 6.1 inches wide is incredibly purposeful design that is clearly built with pure performance in mind. In speaking with GameSpot, Phil Spencer noted that the design teams were given the performance specs the team wanted to hit with the new hardware rather than visual design targets. For me personally, that's partially why I'm so excited about the look. It's completely purposeful in its design and execution, which is what I expect out of a modern console. Now, the Microsoft hardware teams of the past few years have been some of the best in the world, and that is clearly on display here. It is minimalist and industrial. And more than that, it's mature and modern. We are far removed from gaming consoles being the kid's toy that sat underneath the TV. The Series X will look at home on any shelf and fit right in with OLED TVs, speakers, and home assistants. If you could take your high-end PC and maximize its efficiency in size and function to its peak, it would seemingly result in a piece of hardware very reminiscent of the Series X. But on to the bigger questions then. How does this relate to the overall Project Scarlett, and what do we know about the confirmed specs? In terms of Project Scarlett, it's quite clear that the Series X represents what was previously known as Anaconda. This is the high-end, max-performance next-generation Xbox that is aiming to be the industry leader. The rumored Lockhart machine will likely be unveiled at a later date, but as you can tell with the naming convention, using the moniker simply Xbox, followed by Series X, allows for the possibility of other models down the line without needing to create new names. As many have speculated this week, it could mean that we see Lockhart launch as something akin to the Xbox Series S. But on to the real fun with new hardware. What is it packing under the hood? So let me be clear first. The specs that were confirmed for Series X have been somewhat known for some time now. While there was a lot of discussion over the past few weeks about hardware leaks, the information is not new, and in fact was derived from Target dev kit specs earlier this year, which so far seem to hold mostly true. What is confirmed is this. It has a custom Zen 2 CPU and next-generation RDNA architecture from AMD. The GPU is capable of 12 teraflops, and the Series X also uses an NVMe SSD drive. Additionally, it'll support things like variable refresh rate and Microsoft's patented variable rate shading technology, according to the Xbox press release. It's worth noting that although on paper 12 teraflops simply sounds double the Xbox One X, because the Navi architecture in the Series X, and the PS5 for that matter, are RDNA versus GCN that was found in this prior generation of consoles, it's not a one-to-one comparison. I hope that the industry slowly moves away from measuring these consoles' power in terms of teraflops. As the Xbox team has said clearly, the Series X is 4 to 5 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. Phil Spencer has been very clear that they want to lead in the power department again. Speaking again to GameSpot, Spencer said, "Our goal has always been to build the most powerful console we can, and I think we're there. We like leading in power and performance, and I feel like we're going to be there again." To understand why he believes that, we need to go back to the specific statement about RDNA architecture, as that's where things get really interesting. For those that have been paying close attention, the small quote about the Series X having next-generation RDNA architecture is where the console could hold a distinct advantage in terms of next-generation power. Everything we know about the PS5 to date points to current RDNA architecture due to the AMD presentation held on the PS5 earlier this year. Now, if you compare that with the presentation that Lisa Su, who's the head of AMD, gave with Phil Spencer on the Series X, which was still known as just Scarlett at the time, it's a very notable distinction to call out that the Series X, would have next generation RDNA. So on this front, we should have a better idea soon. CES 2020 is just a few weeks away. In fact, it takes place from January 7th to January 10th in Las Vegas. And on January 9th is AMD's keynote. Now, what I'm thinking here, and what some of us have discussed, is that Microsoft will be present when AMD unveils RDNA 2 architecture, which is coming in the GPUs in the later 2020 line. The hope at this point in time is that the Xbox Series X will feature RDNA 2. The reason being is that it brings native hardware accelerated ray tracing to the GPU for the first time, which the Xbox team has specifically commented on previously. To be clear though, at this point in time this is purely speculation, as with RDNA 2 GPUs just arriving in 2020, it's rather hard to imagine that a console will launch at that time with it in place. But no matter what, it's got to be exciting for the possibilities. So with the Series X reveal now behind us and CES in just a few weeks, the roadmap of what's likely next for the Xbox team is really interesting. It goes without saying that Sony is likely planning the PS5 reveal event for sometime in the first quarter, as there's simply no way Sony wants to allow the Series X to dominate next generation console conversation over the next 6 months leading up to E3. With that in mind, my best guess is that we'll likely see a scenario where the AMD keynote at CES includes information on both the Series X and the PS5, with Sony holding a separate PS5 reveal event sometime in February. With the Xbox team not wanting to repeat one of the key mistakes they made in 2013 again, I presume we'll see an actual Series X reveal event sometime in the late first quarter or early second quarter. It would be during this time that we would likely learn more about the hardware itself, what the OS is going to look like, how xCloud is going to factor in at launch, things of that nature. That would then leave E3 for highlighting games and features along with the final pieces of the puzzle, the release date and the price. Typically, neither Sony nor Xbox will want to release those details until E3 as to not show their hand too early. What will be interesting, at least to me, is to see how the Xbox team messages xCloud in coordination with the launch of the Series X. Will it be factored into the Game Pass Ultimate subscription many of us have now? Will it be an additional feature that you can activate for a cost? Right now, nobody knows for sure, but the functionality is certainly an ace up their sleeve and could be a real difference maker at the start of the generation. In the end, the Xbox Series X reveal was a surprise and got the entire industry talking about next generation earlier than anyone expected. In that sense, Xbox is already a step ahead of where they were back in 2013, when they not only revealed the Xbox One 3 months after the PS4, but they did so with poor messaging and a lack of focus on gamers. In that vein, everything about the Series X seems purposeful and direct, which is refreshing. It gets me incredibly excited about what we're going to see over the next year. And one thing is for certain, 2020 is going to be one for the history books. Thanks as always for tuning in to Industry Perspective and Season Gaming. Until next time.